Hey there, I'm Jennifer Valor, productivity coach and your host of the Childfree Biz Cafe, the podcast where child-free entrepreneurs redefine success on their terms. In each episode, I sit down with inspiring business owners and creators, exploring their unique journeys, challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned. We uncover secrets to success, share practical tips, and celebrate our diverse paths of their child-free life. Get ready for insightful conversations and powerful stories in a community that embraces their child-free lifestyle. This is the Child-Free Biz Cafe, where fulfillment and happiness meets entrepreneurship. So today I'm so excited to be talking with Rebecca Richards. She's brand strategist and web designer for health and wellness brands. If you happen to like my brand, which I hope you do, she was the amazing person behind it who helped me create that. And I am still in love with my branding. So if you need some branding, let her know, especially after you get to know her more. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
All right. So we're just going to dive right in. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Rebecca. Like Jennifer just said, I'm a brand strategist. I founded Modern Shift Studio and I work with health and wellness businesses through their brands, their websites, and also long-term marketing strategies, which is something that I think we're going to be talking a lot about today. I started this business about 3 years ago, but I've actually been doing some kind of online marketing, all different kinds of online marketing for the last 15 years. I also have a master's degree in sociology. And so, one thing that I really, really love is getting really into the research side of things to create brands, create websites, strategies that really connect with their audience.
Yeah. And fall in love with as a business owner.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's all about blending all of those pieces together. We want to create a brand that you really love personally, that you feel like really represents who you are, and that also really represents your business well. And that helps other people connect with it and understand what you're all about.
Yeah. We could talk more about my branding too here in a minute. But for now, share about your child-free journey with us.
Yeah, so that is just something that I've always known about myself ever since I was a kid. I always knew that I didn't want to have kids, I didn't want to have a family. And it really was just about craving that freedom, which obviously you can create that for yourself no matter what your family situation looks like. But I knew that I always wanted to have that time freedom. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to be able to focus on all the things that I'm passionate about. And so that is, I guess, just part of my journey and why I made the choices that I made. I think also really, really makes sense then why I started my business, which is funny because I feel like a lot of people who have the same journey that I did, or like the same understanding, like, oh, I always want to have this freedom. I always want to have this type of lifestyle. But growing up, I never actually imagined having my own business. It was something that didn't happen for me until much later, which I just think is really interesting. But when I look back on it, I think, okay, this makes sense. I was kind of always on this path, even if I didn't see it at the time.
Yeah. I'm actually the opposite. I always knew I wanted a business. I didn't know what kind, but it didn't take me till later on to realize, well, I always know I didn't want kids, but now looking back, I know I see it. I see the signs
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that's so funny. So it's like the same thing, just with the
Yeah,
opposite pieces. Yeah,
pretty
that's
much.
so funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So how has being child free improved your freedom so far with also with resources and the business in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously what makes sense is just I have had so much more time and flexibility to be able to put into the business. I think it's much easier to do that. Not that it's impossible by any means, but I think it's much easier to do that when just you naturally have more time, you naturally have more freedom to be able to really go all in and do the things that you have to do to grow your business. Made it easier to fit it into my schedule, especially back when I did still have like a regular 9 to 5 job. I think it was much easier. I didn't have as good of boundaries or balance at that time, but it was easier to figure that out for myself.
Yeah.
And now, since I've been full time, I think 4 or 5 years, something like that. It's 5 years. That's crazy. But it's been even more, able to find that balance for myself, able to create those boundaries, and have so much free time to do things that I want to do, like traveling, reading. I spend a lot of time reading. We were just talking about that the
Hmm.
other day, Jennifer, how much time I read. Travel is a really big one for me, that I think is just easier to do when, I can travel by myself, I can travel with my boyfriend. We're actually going to Bulgaria in September for a
Ooh.
month, which I think would not be as possible if I had kids. So I think that's just a big part of it.
Yeah. And finding those boundaries when you do have like and filling all that time because you do have the time with your
Hmm.
business because you're so passionate about it. But now you have boundaries and you're more organized.
Yeah, well, that was definitely, I mean, that's definitely something you and I have worked on too, because I think the flip side is like, yes, oh, we don't have kids, we have all this time, we can work on our business, but then you can go really hardcore into that where, oh, I just work all the time on the
Yeah.
business. I don't have to do anything else. So it's also been a big journey for me the last couple of years, especially of figuring out what I want those boundaries to look for myself. How much time do I actually want to be working? How
Yeah.
can I make that work? How can I still make sure I'm doing that or having other hobbies outside of the business? As I don't just want to be working all the time either.
Right. Because that's kind of the whole point of us wanting to have the lifestyle we have and having our own businesses. We never meant to be working all the time.
It
Just
just
kind of
happens.
happens. And then it's like, oh yeah, I should probably leave the house once in a while.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely been a struggle of mine, and it's something that has gotten so much better over the years. I feel, go through periods or like phases with the business where there's some times that are much busier than others,
Hmm.
and there's times that are a lot slower. And I think part of it is like not always expecting it to be this perfect balance either. If you think that
Right.
you're just gonna create this perfect schedule and never cross your boundaries, never work a little more than you want to or something like that, like it's never going to be a perfect balance, I feel. But it's like making sure that you have that flexibility built into your schedule so you can work with that. You can kind of also anticipate like, hey, I know this week is going to be busier, how can I like rearrange my schedule to make that work for me and where I'm not working like crazy hours. And then really also fully enjoying those times where it's like, hey, my business is a lot quieter, this week or this month or whatever. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to, focus more on my hobbies or travel or whatever else you want to do.
Yeah, because balance is never 50-50. It varies day to day depending on
Yeah.
what's going on. Maybe one month is more travel, one month maybe you're launching something, so it's more work heavy. So it really depends on what's going on too.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. I've definitely found that too. I used to be one of those people that was very much like, no, I'm going to create this like perfect schedule. I just have to figure out the perfect schedule for me and then I can follow it and everything's going to be great. And then in practice, it's like, oh, that's just not, I mean, first of all, it's not how life works. We all know how life works. It's up and down and
Hmm.
things happen, spontaneously. And but I think it's the same exact thing in business too. To some extent, you can predict it a little more maybe, but there's also a lot of things in business that are like practically
Hmm.
busy. You got to learn how to work that into your schedule and your boundaries too.
Yeah, because it's so easy to be time blind. So easy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So getting more back into branding and website, why is it
Yeah.
so important to have a website and a brand?
Yeah. So I think the main thing that is important when I think about, businesses that come to me for a brand, for a website, they are getting to that stage of their business where are stepping into a bigger role with their business. They're starting to think more about the long-term strategy behind what they're doing, the long-term impact of what they're doing as well, where it's no longer just, okay, I'm starting this business. It's just, I want to quit my job. I want to be able to support myself, and
Hmm.
they're kind of getting beyond that into that stage of thinking about how do I actually want to grow this? Do I want to scale? Do I want to hire a team? Do I want to be spending all my time on social media? Or am I actually looking at other ways that I can grow beyond that? And so that's where I'm able to like really in and help people with figuring out what makes sense for your business and your goals.
Yeah, which kind of leads into I am personally getting exhausted from social media in general, just for my mental health. And I've noticed that I've been doing the doom scroll more often, and that's never a good
I
thing.
feel that.
Like I'll start at like 11 p.m. and then next thing I know it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And just social media in general has just been so overwhelming. So what are
Mhm.
some of the best alternatives if we're wanting to focus less on social media or transitioning out of social media completely with the TikTok ban coming or not, or who knows what's going on with that, and Facebook shutting down once in a while, getting shadow banned, whatever happens. It's like we need to have that backup.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you recommend
Um,
for alternatives?
Yeah, so that's exactly it. And I think the thing when we're thinking about all these things, and I'm not someone who goes around being a fear monger of like, what if Facebook shuts down today? What if Instagram shuts down today? TikTok, they really might shut down in here at least. I don't know. But for the most part, I don't like to be a fear monger and be like, these platforms are going to shut down any day. But what I focus on is just the overall visibility of your brand. You want to be as visible as possible. Yes, you can grow a really large following on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these platforms, but I like to focus on helping clients diversify their visibility. So when you're thinking, you're at that stage, you're thinking about growing, you're thinking about scaling your business, it's all about like, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, right? Like everything in one place. You're at that stage, you're like, okay, I need to be visible here, 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 like in these different places. And so I feel like whatever your specific goals are, a website is the home for your brand. It's the one place, yeah, exactly. It's like the one place on the internet that you can fully own. This is your space. And I always kind of think of it as being the hub for your business.
Right.
It's kind of the primary place that you want to direct all that traffic to, that you want to bring to. And then from there, maybe you still have social media. Okay. They can find that. They can find your podcast. They can find your YouTube channel, your blog, your whatever all these other things are. Email list, of course, that's huge. And definitely something I focus on a lot when I'm building websites for people.
Yeah.
How are we collecting these email addresses? Oh, it's the website is really a hub for your brand. It's the one place people can come to where they can fully see what the brand is all about and how you can help them, and then directing them to all these other resources, services, free things, paid things, all of the things for your brand.
Yeah. So, how helpful is search engine optimization for driving traffic to websites and Pinterest and things like that? Because I keep hearing both sides of it. Oh, you still need to do it. It's so important. And then other people are like, it doesn't matter anymore. Is it still even worth it? Because that's a
Yeah.
whole thing in itself. But even just knowing the basics, is it still
Yeah,
worth it?
exactly. 100%, it is still worth it. So I think sometimes people have it in their head with a website is like you build the website and then people magically find it and come to you and hire you, right? And the thing is, I mean, there you can build the website and that's amazing. It's perfect. It's a great place to grow your brand, but you still have to be directing the people to it in some way. So some of that's going to be, I mean, most of the clients I work with have started with growing a social media following. So at first, their primary source of traffic is going to be still from their social media. But what we do then is start building out these other ways of generating traffic, through Google being the main one. When your website is set up really well for SEO, that means that anyone who is, typing these questions into Google, your website is going to pop up for those questions. And that is something I also think people maybe have a misconception about blogging. Like, oh, I have to start a blog if I want to have SEO. No, you don't. Like any website has SEO potential. It can be better or worse, depends how well it's set up. But one of the big things for SEO, I think people don't always realize is that Google prioritizes new content and websites that are being constantly updated. If you have a website that you make all the content, it's amazing content, the website's beautiful, has all the things, but then you just let that website sit there, it typically does not rank as well on Google because Google doesn't see that it's like constantly updating and having new valuable information for people. So that's where the blogging piece comes in. And having that blog, you're really going in depth on these topics that you're an expert in and showing Google, hey, I'm an expert on this topic. Please show it to more people who are
Right.
looking for this. And I think part of that too is like a lot of my clients are like, so do I have to sit down and write 1,000-word blog posts every week? And no, it's all about repurposing the content that you already have.
Yep.
So a great way to do that is podcast and even Instagram content. I have multiple clients that we help turn their Instagram content, their reels, their captions, all those things that they're all on Instagram, turning it into high quality blog posts for them and getting them ranking in Google.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I've always been kind of blogging off and on over the years in general, but now that I'm moving more towards YouTube instead of writing as much, like I still love having a blog.
Yeah.
So instead of making a whole separate blog post, I write a script anyway for YouTube. So I basically ChatGPT helped get me started on rewriting it for a blog post, or depending on how it's written, because I try to make it very conversational as is. I just have it add headings and make it more bloggy kind of thing. But I'll also embed a graphic up top and I'll embed the video, and a podcast episode like this, I'll embed the separate audio as well. So everything gets in there and redone. And that's just more ways to have more pages to have SEO, and your website's still getting updated. So yeah, it's not like you have to write a whole separate blog post. That's a whole new thing. Even a newsletter could be a blog post kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think sometimes people get overwhelmed then when they think about having a website and like having a blog. Yes, it is one more thing to do. Of course, you can hire help for it. But so much of it is like purposing the content you already made.
Yeah.
Like we want to get the content that you've already worked so hard on, and we want to just get more eyes on it. So yeah, it's definitely not something you have to start completely from scratch. I also really love the strategy that you have, Jennifer, because the other thing that is so important that can be really helpful in terms of like just growing your audience and engaging your audience more is having different forms for people to engage with your content.
Right.
You're really hitting on like different learning styles, different ways that people like to consume content. You know, a lot of people, I'm someone I love to read. So I am more likely to like go and look for someone's blog, look through their Instagram posts and read things. I do still really like podcasts, but I also really like when there's podcast transcripts that I can skim through and like see if it's something I want to listen to before I dive in. So having all those available for people on your website is awesome, and an awesome way to, you know, again, boost that SEO for your website and also really engage the people that are coming to your website. So love that. It's such a good strategy.
Thank you. But do people still comment on blog posts though? Because I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, I think it really depends. So most of my clients, we have not focused on building up comments on their websites. It's really kind of a personal choice if it's something that you want to do or not. I think it's more likely that people comment if they already have a really, really big, really engaged audience coming to their website. It is a way, it can help boost SEO, right? Because then people are coming on your post and they're commenting questions. Google still reads those as content on your website. So it can be a good strategy, but it is something that requires another level of effort on your part to have some kind of call to action on your post. Make it something that people would want to engage with and ask more questions, if that makes sense. So it's definitely still a strategy that can work. It's not for everyone. It's not something you have to do in order for your blog to be valuable.
Yeah, in that aspect, I've been trying to think of it as how I try to do YouTube videos, in the fact of like, hey, what was your biggest aha moment? Or what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments, and then I'll go on with the rest of the video kind of thing. So I'm trying to incorporate the blog version of what I do on YouTube now.
That makes sense. I think also when it comes to comments, I think a lot of people don't like to be the first person to comment. And so if it's an area where you're really focused on it and wanting to build up more of that community feeling on your blog where there is more conversation happening in the comments, is see if you can consistently get a handful of friends or clients who are interested in reading your blog post and ask if they would be willing to comment when it makes sense, when they have a question, when they have a relevant thought or something, and like trying to start the conversation in that way. And I think already having some of those comments on there can help other people then feel comfortable to start engaging in that conversation too.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I also love how, in case anyone else has a YouTube channel and they might not know this, if you embed your video into a blog post and people watch your YouTube video from your website, that still counts as views.
Yes, that's
So it's doing double duty right there.
mm-hmm. Exactly. See, and that's why I love websites. It's meant to be a place to be repurposing all this content and
Hmm.
getting more eyes on it and making your content work as hard for you as you work
Right.
on the content, if
Yep.
that makes sense. Because we put so much effort into all the content we create, right? Social media, YouTube, podcast, all of these things. We put so much effort into that. And we're kind of letting it go to waste if we're just posting it one time in one place
Right.
and we're not repurposing it and finding ways to actually grow that and use it to help us grow our audience.
Yes. Repurpose. Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
It's really not
Exactly.
that hard. It's just remembering to repurpose it. And repurposing doesn't have to be difficult at all.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be, but you know what? I also feel that a lot of times it's easy to put ourselves, it's easy to put our business last. We
Mhm.
do have those busy weeks come up. We have these things that we know we should be doing for our business. But whenever things get busy, work or personal life, things come up, it's really easy to kind of let those things slip. Like you said, a lot of these things that we can do that have such a big impact on our business don't have to be that hard.
Right.
Got to figure out a system that works for us and really, make it a priority for ourselves to do those things.
Exactly. And if it's not scheduled, it's not getting done.
Yeah, 100%. Like I live by my Google Calendar. If it is not on my Google Calendar,
Yeah.
I'm probably not doing it. I will forget. It will not get done. Everything has to go on there.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I put personal things on there, business, like all of the things. Someone asked me if I want to do something, I need to check my Google Calendar. It is my life. I will tell you. I will tell you what it says.
Yeah, and it prevents you from getting overbooked too. Gives you a visual of, oh my gosh, how much is actually going on today?
Exactly. That's such a big thing too, because I think sometimes we can like have a couple things in our head of like, okay, these are the things that I have to do today. And someone, throws one more thing at you. And I think it's really easy, especially if you're like a recovering people pleaser like I
Hmm.
am. It's really easy to just want to tell everyone, yes, yep, I can do that. That's simple. That's an easy thing. But like you can't fit a million easy
Right.
things into every day. There has to be a limit. So I love having that visual calendar, that visual reminder, this is how much time you have available. This is how much time you want to be working. And these are all the things that you already said that you have to do today. And so it's really helped me being able to be like, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that today, but I do next week, whatever it might be.
Yeah. So of time. How, depending on, so for your clients, do they mainly come to you for websites from scratch, or are they usually like glow ups or updates or what kind?
Yeah. So most of my clients come to me already having a website, but to a stage, a lot of them have made their website themselves, or maybe they had a VA do it just with a template or something that they bought. And for most of them, it looks okay. It doesn't look terrible. I really truly haven't seen too many websites that are just a horrible mess. Like,
Mhm.
what were you doing? I think that's kind of like with templates. Sorry, that's like kind of going down a tangent. But I think the thing is, what I want to say is it's fairly simple with templates these days to create a website that looks okay. And so
Mhm.
like this, but not as easy to know strategically website work for you. So a lot of my clients come to me at that stage where they're like, I have a website, it's okay. I don't hate how it looks. but I do know it could look better. It could look more on brand for me. And it's not really doing anything for me. I
Right.
don't feel like it's converting clients. I don't feel like it's growing my email list. I don't feel like it's really showing up in Google. And so it's more of the strategy piece that they're
Mhm.
looking for. I mean, obviously, we build them a brand new,
Right.
beautiful website that they love, but they're really also looking for that combination of the strategy aspect of it. Not only do I want a website that looks nice, but I want it to be doing its job.
Yeah, that's why I love that you are not just the designer, you're the strategist too, which and the branding all together because different people do those, or you don't have one without the other or something. It's just, if you're going to do it right, just do it right at once. And that way it can
Exactly.
do the majority of the work for you.
Exactly. I think it's a lot easier when you approach a big project like this, especially a website. It's really important to have that strategic foundation so that, again, you don't just end up designing something based on some pictures or some websites that your client sent you of what they want. But you really want to be designing something that's going to serve them. So like that's how I always approach my work is starting with that strategy first. I often have had clients come to me and they start out with like, well, I already have a logo. Do we have to do this strategy piece? Because even for, I mean, of course I do brand strategy before I'm going to do, anyone's logos or graphics or anything like that. I always start with strategy. But even when I do website projects, and this is something I have found a lot of web designers don't actually do, is dig as deep into making sure they fully understand the brand
Right.
strategy. So even I have clients come to me and they're like, well, I already have a logo, I already have my colors. Like, why do we have to kind of do this little bit of like branding strategy piece? And I always tell them, like, this is how we make your website work for you. Exactly everything we've just been saying. If you want your website to not just look pretty, like the examples that you sent me, we have to make sure that it's actually helping you to grow your email list, grow your audience, show up on Google. So we have to always start with that strategy piece and know what our goals are, because
Right.
that can completely change what we're doing on the website. The choices, the design choices that we make completely depends on, okay, what are we doing? Are we selling a group? Are we selling a product? Are we trying to grow your email list? What is the focus? And so that's unique to every business. So I always dig into that with my clients first, because if I don't know what your goals are, I could design you a beautiful website that does absolutely nothing for you. And I don't want
Right.
that. I want to make you something that's really going to serve you well.
Exactly. So do you use a specific website platform, or do you use whatever they prefer, or do you have a preference?
Yeah. So with my clients, I primarily use I have had some product based clients that we've used Shopify for, because Shopify is really great for specifically selling products. But I have found for most online service based businesses, Squarespace is such a solid platform. And I like it for two reasons. The main reason is for my clients, when I hand them that website, they can manage themselves pretty easily. Now, I still have clients who come back to me when they need a new page or they want to do a couple updates or something like that. They'll come back and have me design that for them.
Hmm.
But when they need to just make minor updates to their copy or something like that, Squarespace is a really easy platform for them to go in and make those changes, or for them to have, a VA come in and manage their blog for them or something like that. So that's like one reason that I really, really love that platform. Another reason that I really love it is Squarespace is an amazing platform. This is getting a little bit more on the techie side of things.
Hmm.
But Squarespace does all of your security and updates automatically, which is something that not every website does. Not every website host does. So a lot of platforms, WordPress, you have to do a lot of manual updates on your website. And so a lot of designers will sell monthly maintenance packages, and every month they have to go to all their clients' websites and like to keep the site really safe and secure on the back end,
Hmm.
which I won't dig into all those things. It's very techy. But basically, Squarespace, I really like it because it does so much automatically for you that I find it's just the easiest platform for my clients to manage and have their team help them manage as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I use WordPress and It's a handful for sure.
Yeah, I do have some clients that I don't build on WordPress, but for my marketing packages, I do have some clients that we handle our blog for them on WordPress, and it's just not my favorite. It also just feels clunky on the
It
back
is.
end
It
to
really
manage
is.
it. And so that's just one of the big plus with Squarespace is I just feel it makes things very user friendly where other platforms are, even as a designer, sometimes I like to try out new platforms. There's a couple other platforms that I think design really beautiful sites, but I go in there to play around with them. And even as a designer, I'm like, doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. This is not intuitive. This is not user friendly.
right. Yeah, I'm about getting to the point where I've had enough. So whenever, so once I'm ready, I'm definitely switching for sure too. And of course you'll do it. So yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that when you're ready.
Yeah. So what's one thing you want everyone to take away today?
I guess kind of going back to something I touched on earlier, but one thing that I think is so important, and I think also really relates to the whole idea of your podcast too, is the importance of thinking about your own long-term goals when it comes to your business and your brand. Like, what is that long-term impact that
Hmm.
you want to be making? And I think there's a lot of noise online. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you're in this space, you're trying to grow your business. Everyone is coming at you from all different directions and
Hmm.
saying, you should do this. No, you should do this. You should be on Instagram. You should be on TikTok. You should have a blog. You should be on Pinterest. You need to do all these things. And this is what I always start with my clients is thinking about what are your specific goals because that is going to affect then what your next best steps are. And so that's just something I encourage everyone to always focus on in their business. What is the impact you want to make?
Right.
And just always start there, always come back to that.
Absolutely. And then depending your business can pivot or sometimes you got to adapt or you're changing your business model or something. And then the website needs to be updated to accommodate that and
Exactly.
for all of that. So it'll again be updated to what you need it to do for your goals to get the clients you need to do the thing.
Exactly. 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 It should always, always come back to what your specific vision is, your
Mhm.
specific goals. And that's going to drive any strategy when it comes to branding, comes to your website, any marketing strategy. It should all be driven by those things, those
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. So how can we connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, modernshiftstudio.com, or on Instagram at modernshiftstudio.
Yep. And I'll put those in the description and all that fun stuff.
Awesome.
And I'll also link your case study of us working together as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for being here. If you enjoyed this
Of course.
episode, hit subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and send this to your child-free friends. You can connect with me on social as Productively Child Free. Remember, you're not alone. Until next time, stay amazing and live life your way.